and welcome to the Nighthawk Racing and F1 RST Championship. Firstly, I'm Midnight. You can see myself and the rest of our other drivers here on our Nighthawk Racing YouTube, where you can check out the entire back catalogue of seasons 1 to 3 of the F1 RST series. Also, our mini-series and all one-off race events, all of which are highly competitive and lots of fun. Please check out our Instagram and TikTok for other content and races too. Link in the description or scan the QR dot for more information. But now, let's focus on the event at hand. So tonight is Season 4, Round 4 at Suzuka for the Blue Lobby. So a little more information on the championship. There are 10 events that you can see on our calendar in front of you now, which are divided up into red and blue lobbies. There are 2 racing events with a qualifying session for the big feature race itself. The sprint race tonight is 9 laps and at 75% fuel. The grid is formed via how drivers line up in reverse average points scored across the season. The feature race is 30 laps. All drivers must use 2 different tyre compounds while starting on the same compound they set their fastest lap in the qualified session just before. As a reminder, the blue lobby has all driver aids switched on, such as traction control, ASM and ABS, whereas the red lobby has all of these disabled with the exception of ABS for that true hardcore driving experience to really challenge our drivers.
So today we get the pleasure of driving around Suzuka, a track that we all know and love both in Gran Turismo and in real life as well for the events that it hosts. But talking about the track itself, it's 5.8 kilometres or just over 3.6 miles long with 17 turns in total, and it first appeared in GT4 and has been in every game since. We've had the pleasure of driving it since GT4, and like I say, we all know and love it. We get the get to drive it in the dry for the sprint race, but then in the feature race apparently we might have some wet weather, so that might be a little bit of fun. But it was designed as the Honda test track in 1962, and it's one of the only few real world circuits to have a figure of 8 layout. Obviously an example of that is also the Top Gear test track that luckily me and our co-founder Luke get the pleasure of driving with our job. But obviously due to the danger of an interesting track, it doesn't actually intersect with itself. Instead, the back straight passes over the front section by means of an overpass. A little bit of an illusion there, but it's believed by many to be the most challenging and dangerous circuits in the world. Obviously it currently hosts the Formula 1 Japanese Grand Prix, and like I say, it's definitely one that we like watching on the calendar, although we have to wake up very early indeed to watch it. But talking about watching, let's go and watch the drivers in the sprint race and see how they got on in qualifying.
Okay, let's have a look at the sprint grid here for the Suzuka race at round 4 for season 4 of the F1 RST Championship. So up first we have Sparky in that Mclaren 650S. It had an interesting race at Fuji last week, but back on the Japanese soil to see what he can do here at Suzuka. In P2 we have the ever-present Ziggy, also known as Bila Dorada, in that Mercedes AMG. He has rediscovered a lot of his speed recently. He's going to be a big threat for the top 3 here tonight. In P3, in that Porsche 911, the BTCC livery, we have Lee. And he has been very good, in particular in the sprint so far this season and season 3. So can he steal another podium here tonight? In P4 we have one half of our co-creator Sarah Hawkey for Nighthawk Racing, and she's going to be after a good result here today, and we wish her the best of luck. And in 5th we have Tygo in that Ferrari 458. Let's see if he goes aggressive and goes for the sprint victory here at Suzuka. In P6 we have the head of Suzuka Racing, Coach, in that Toyota Supra. He has a podium so far this season in Blue Lobby. Let's see if we can add to that tally. And in P7 we have Kulos, who's become a mainstay of the series. We wish him the best of luck in the sprint race, and he already has a sprint victory this season, so he's going to be wanting to add to that tally and get a good haul of points, and he's going to be wanting to shoot himself back up into Red Lobby. So good luck to him there. And over to Sarah for the next 6.
Thank you very much. And in P8 we have one of our very own admin in Big Crazy Birdie in that McLaren 650S, looking, a big haul of points and hopefully maybe threaten for the podium here. And in P9 we have Hassler in the R8, and he has got a blue sprint race podium under his belt. He might be able to challenge for another one here. Let's see how he can do. In P10 we have a new face on the grid, and he has come over from TWR or Free Wide Racing, and it is Wise Fudderboy in that Porsche 911. And I've got to say, I really like that livery, very mean and kind of very up, I would design a car like that. But in P11 we've also got another new face to the grid, also coming from Free Wide Racing, is T50 Phil, and he's chosen the Nissan GTR, and I'm excited to see another GTR on the grid. We've only obviously got one, and it is KD Nakai, so let's see how Phil can do in that next GTR. But in P12 we have Super Simon in that McLaren 650S, and I've got to say, recently and especially in season 4, the performance from Simon has gone next level. He's, he might not be able to have the time to practice, but he's putting in the hours that is needed for him, and his performance has got a lot better. So excited to see how he gets on at Suzuka, and hoping he has a good day. But in P13 we have Iceman in that Genesis X, and I'm excited to see him back. He did quite well a few rounds ago, and I'm excited to see his face back on the grid, and hopefully he can have a good performance, and that rounds off the grid for the sprint race for round 4. Anyone that you're keeping an eye on midnight, or are you just kind of, seeing how it goes before the challenge of the feature race?
Well, it's a bit of both on this one, but I think we have to keep an eye on the new TWR boys of Fodder and Phil, so good luck to them out there. But otherwise, just looking at the grid, I think keep an eye particularly on. There's quite a few there. I mean, Tygo, Coach, Koulios. They're all going to be wanting good points finishes, and our very own admin of Ziggy, who's rediscovered his form and speed. So I don't know, I'm going to keep an eye on Ziggy, and I'm going to say Tygo actually.
Yes, some good choices there. But, don't know if you agree. Let's go see how they got on. Pass over to the commentary team.
Okay, so leading us away tonight for the sprint race is Sparky, although it looks like maybe he's gained a bit of an advantage there off the start of this race, as he seems to be getting quite a margin as he heads into the first corner. Then he's followed by Ziggy, who again seems to have got a bit of an advantage over the rest of the pack, with Lee in 3rd, Sarah in 4th, Tago in 5th, with Coach, Koulios, Bertie, Hassler, Fodder, Phil, Iceman and Super Simon rounding up the back of the pack. Although I'm pretty sure there's been an overtake at the back there between Simon and Iceman, because I'm pretty sure Iceman did start at the back, so already making early progress in this sprint race. It's only 9 laps, Luke, but certainly plenty of time to make progress up.
Completely so, and this obviously being Suzuki, you've got to make progress pretty quick and pretty accurately. And you have to say Tygo on those soft tyres is going to be all over the back of Sarah's M6 though. He's going to be trying super hard to make it stick. You've got Koulios on the back of Coach as well, and it's all sort of one by one action at the moment. They're all just in single file, but it's only going to take one little spark to set this all off, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, he looks like it sees Ziggy is Harsman on the exit of the hairpin. That is probably not the way you wanted to start his sprint race. As we look further back, we have Phil and Haslett going side by side, battling over P9 as they run down towards Spoon. I think also maybe earlier on in the lap, Simon may have had a slight incident, but it seems he is overtaking Ziggy. Ziggy's gonna have a lot of work to do further. As you got another spinner, is that Sarah? Oh, spinning on the exit of Spoon Luke. That's obviously not great for her race. Neither picking up quite a bit of damage on the front of that that BMW. As it looks like maybe unintentionally blocking Simon there ever so slightly, but also allowing Ziggy to sneak by as well, Luke.
Yeah, and these things happen, particularly at Suzuka coming out of Spoon. It's so very easy to do. And we got one of our new rookies, Phil, moving up the inside into Casio on Hassett there with Iceman right on his tail as well. So we've got Phil making moves and taking names. We've got Fodder, who is from the back of the grid all the way up to 6th already, challenging Coach, our leader off S02 Racing. So lots of movers. And yeah, it looks like it's going well. Lee in 2nd place, who is leading the rest of the pack away.
I think you've done a bit of a commentary curse right there, Luke. Because as you mentioned, Fodder up into P6. He unfortunately runs wide, heading into turn 1 and 2, and drops down to a P10. Unfortunately, there.
Yeah, it does happen. I can see moves at the back as well. Ziggy, Sarah, and Simon all swapping places as well. But Sparky out front. Looks like he's just serenely disappearing away. Let's hope we give no more commentators' curses go.
Hopefully not. You know, it's never our intentions, is it? Also, interesting to see Tago, obviously, as you mentioned on the previous lap, choosing to start on the soft tyres. They're already looking quite worn. And we know from Red Lobby that the Ferrari is quite harsh on its tyres, but to go softs is even more of a bit of a bold choice, wouldn't you say, Luke?
It's absolutely ambitious, but you might see him go for a pit stop and just try and be super fast in the second half of the sprint race. We've seen it at Maggiore earlier in the season in Red Lobby again. Maybe some of the strategies are filtering down.
Maybe. You know, it's always a good bit of inspiration to take maybe from the Red Lobby, because some of them drivers are very quick. As we look down the grid, Lee taking quite a big chunk of grass as Tiger gets very sideways on the exit at 130R, dropping a little bit of time to Lee. Maybe possibly falling under a bit of pressure to Koulios, who, as I say, that doesn't seem to get the best line through the final chicane and loses any possible time gained to Tiger.
Oh, Fodder just went on at Casio, come back on just in time. Nearly ended up in the barrier there, but Ziggy back on a forward note, and he's on the back of Fodder. So, well, lots going on in these opening few laps.
It certainly is. It seems everywhere we look, Luke, it seems to be action aplenty, as it looks like Tiger is basically pushing the Porsche of Lee through this first sector. He is looking. That is a place you don't see many overtakes happen up the inside. I can't remember the corner name off the top of my head, Luke, but it's certainly a very opportunistic move there from Tago, which you'd think he'd have to make early on in this race to take full advantage of those soft tyres.
Quite right. Do you know what? I never learned the names of those corners. I just call them the S's. But at the end of the day, you're completely right. He has got to make the best use of those soft tyres and get off down the road quickly. But Lee he's going to try and come back at him. Lee has definitely been one of our sprint race kings in the last couple of seasons, so he's going to do his best to come back at him, and those medium tyres are going to come in to be the prime tyre at some point. But at the moment, Koulios is now challenging for that 3rd place, so these pair are definitely going to be pushing Tiger really, really hard.
Absolutely. You know, if Tiger doesn't make full use of him now and get a bit of breathing room, they'll certainly be breathing down his neck sooner or later. And Koulios, a really good race so far, up in 4th. We know Koulios from previous rounds can be very fast on his day.
Yeah, quite right. It's stunningly fast. So the only Coach.
Coach absolutely licking the stamp and sending it into the final chicane, Luke.
Yeah, he took exception to what we were saying there. We can't forget Coach. He's been devastatingly fast over a couple of seasons, so good to see him on the front foot and stealing that place off Coolio. So well done, Coach.
And we also know that Supra is one of the faster cars in the straight line, so it seems like maybe a good place to make that overtake when you've got the full advantage over the top speed, such as the Supra.
Yeah, and then when come into the twisty tight sections, all he's got to do is just sit on the racing line, be a bit of a mobile roadblock, which in a wide Supra like that, I'm not going to say it's easy to do, but as long as you have a little bit of skill and a little bit of pace and that top end speed, you can do it. But Koulios climbing over the back of Coach holding him off at the moment, coming into Degner 1.
And it looked, throughout for a second, it looks like a situation where Koulios is basically pushing Coach around the corners, but Coach escapes down the straights. It looks like, is Phil going to look up the inside of Bertie into the hairpin? He does. Oh, a little bit of rubbing between the two British drivers, but Phil makes that move work for him. Although Bertie is still up, looking up his inside, but the power of the GTR pulls him past now. Quite an audacious move there from Phil, and even not afraid to get the rookie of Phil isn't afraid to get his elbows out. Would you say, Luke?
Yeah, that's what we like to see from a newbie to the series. Another one of our new rookies alongside Fodder today. Phil making his mark straight away, but it looked nice and clean to me. But that might be one the stewards want to have a little inquest at, but looked good from my perspective.
Has Tygo possibly made a mistake on this lap? Because it seems like it may be possibly falling into the clutches of the chasing pack behind Lee, Coach and Koulios, even Phil now, or certainly looking at taking advantage when sooner or later those soft tyres on that Ferrari are going to wear out, Luke.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much longer. We're already halfway into this race, and those soft tyres are about 50% down, so it's going to become bit tricky for Tygo now, but out front, I'm going to have to say Sparky, he is just keeping that gap at the moment, but I am going to wonder, is Lee and particularly Coach and Koulios going to try and close him down? It's Tygo that's going to have a massive problem holding these lot off, and as he runs wide in the S's, you can definitely see he just hasn't got that front end grip he had even a lap ago.
Yeah, obviously, and even running a little bit wide, obviously in this game it kind of pulls you out. You get one tyre on the grass, and it kind of pulls the car out onto the rest of the car out onto the grass, and it can make it so difficult to try and get back onto your original projected line. As it looks like Sparky maybe outbroke himself there ever so slightly going into the hairpin, but. Ever since a slight fortunate start at the start of this race, it seems like Sparky's kind of had this in the bag, Luke.
Yeah, he is being caught, I feel, by Tygo and Lee, but I think just watching those tyres of Tygo, I think Sparky's going to be very, very happy that Tygo will become effectively a mobile roadblock at some point. So he's going to have to, for Sparky's sake, he's going to have to try and hold up Lee, Coach and Koulios. And it is great to see these three drivers, or four drivers of Lee, Coach, Koulios and Phil, all nose to tail through the middle sectors with not even so much as a touch. So great racing from these four gents. As Koulios runs a little bit wide coming through 130R, it's going to put him on the defensive into Casio. Phil, little touch on Koulios, might be one for the stewards on that, but does get through onto the main straight.
Impressive move going well. Any move around the outside is always impressive there, isn't it, Midnight?
Yeah, I completely agree, and he took full advantage of what looked like a mistake from Koulios through 130R, but around Suzuka, if you make a mistake in one corner, it affects you for 2 or 3 corners. So Phil lining up the pass, and again licking it and sending it.
While we get a little bit of breathing time in this race, I just want to take a quick mention to another new races this week. Fodder in the Porsche, setting a fastest lap of a 2 minute .7 on those medium tyres. absolutely flying, wouldn't you say, Luke? Although maybe his current race result doesn't say that. His lap time says otherwise.
Yeah, he has had a little trip through the gravel, as we saw earlier on. But yes, now his race pace is going to possibly bring him at very least an extra point and catch the drives in front of him, so keep an eye on him.
As it looks like Fodder goes up looking around the outside for the hairpin. Saber Venom brakes. Can Fodder carry the momentum outside? He can't, but Saber Venom, or Haslett shall I say, outbrakes himself, which allows Fodder to cut back and gain that position off Haslett up into P8 as they both run down towards Spoon, Luke.
Yep, that was a good cutback move from Fodder, so well done to the Brit, on the other Brit actually. So Haslett moving backwards at this point, but we do know Haslett has a lot of speed in him, and he will try and move it back forwards to the group that are in front of him. I'm just keeping an eye on the battles going from second down to sixth, because I think these guys are slowing each other up now. It's going to bring this back closer again as Coach goes for it again on Lee into Casio. No touching there, but Lee has run a little bit deep into the corner. It's going to leave him a little bit vulnerable in the straight line to that Supra down the main straight.
Absolutely, it looks like Coach possibly caught Lee napping there ever so slightly, as Coach is right up behind that rear wing of that Porsche. He looks towards the inside. This is nothing's better of it now, because turn one is certainly maybe not a corner you want to go side by side through, is it, Luke?
No, well, we've seen it a couple of times in Formula 1, but they have a lot more downforce. If you go side by side in turn one around here, you have a big likelihood of ending up on the AstroTurf, and then maybe even in the gravel or warm. So he's chosen to fight for another day, Coach, on that one.
Yeah, he certainly did. Yeah, I'm sure when, by the looks of it, he's going to have a few more chances to get past that Porsche of Lee. And it looks like Tygo might possibly be struggling out ever so slightly. Although, so he's still got a little bit of breathing room for now, but those tyres are starting to look very second-hand, wouldn't you say?
Oh, completely. Those tyres are very, very second-hand. They're going to be looking to be not even sold on, but shredded at the end of this race. I mean, probably in the next lap or so. And all four drivers getting very close in the hairpin. Kulis might be coming back around the outside of Phil. He has, I think, made it. It's going to have the inside for Spoon.
Yeah, it is again. So I think someone's going to have to back out, because if we say turn one isn't a corner to go side by side through, Spoon definitely isn't. As it looks like Phil might get ever so slightly a little bit wide into the AstroTurf. Coolio still keeps his nose up the inside ever so slightly, but can't quite make it work. There's very good driving there from Phil, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, from the pair, I would say. So good driving for both gentlemen on that one. And I have to say, my eyes are absolutely fixated on Tiger at the moment. He's got Lee breathing down his neck, with Coach right behind, and now Phil and Koulos in their own little battle as they're going at it again into Casio. I'm not sure if that was a little touch. Maybe, but I'm not sure if Koulias outbraked himself, but that might be one for the stewards going forwards. And then we've got Bertie and Fodder going at it, coming out of the final corner as well. So battles everywhere.
I was just going to mention that. It looks like Bertie went around a little bit wide out of 130R, which allowed Fodder to sneak up his inside, but maybe Fodder ended up outbraking himself ever so slightly into the final chicane, which allowed Bertie to do the cutback going around Casio onto the pit straight, which allowed him to keep the position for the moment. However, this battling has also brought Haslett back up to the both of them.
Tygo's tyres have gone. Coach snuck up the inside of Lee at turn one, and Tygo's tyres have gone off, and Coach has got two positions in about three corners there. He's in really big trouble, Kurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can only think of how much time he's about to lose from the drivers behind. I'm sure Tygo will battle tooth and nail to try and keep this podium, but there's not much more he can really do when his tyres like this. And it looks like Lee is the next one chomping at the rear of that Porsche. It looks like maybe a little bit of contact between the two drivers, which allows Phil to absolutely take the outside line into the hairpin, but however, Lee can straighten the car up much better on the exit to put the power down. Now, as they run round towards Spoon, I don't think you really want to think about making a move here, but I'm sure the more time you spend behind the Porsche, the less time you're going to have to try and catch that Supra of Coach. It looks like Tygo gets very sideways on the first part of Spoon. Maybe a little bit of contact there between Tygo and Lee as Tygo is round Not how really he wants to see his race go, but surely with Tiger's tyre wear, he wasn't going to be able to hold everyone off. As Koulias and Phil are doing Schumacher and Alonso recreation. Koulias holds it tries to hold it around the outside of 130R. Phil still keeping his nose in at the inside, maybe a little bit of rubbing between the two drivers, but Koulias comes out on top midnight.
Yeah, these guys have been at it for like non-stop for about 3 laps now. That's unfortunate for Tygo, but those rear tyres were shot with him. I don't know if he's gonna. Yeah, he's had a big incident somewhere. He's got big damage. I think he's gone off at 130R, so he is going to be falling to the back of the pack. But we've got more battles going on. We've got Koulias and Phil going at it, and Fodder and Bertie now.
Yeah, it looks like Fodder really trying to squeeze Bertie over as they run in towards the first corner. Bertie putting 2 wheels in the grass as Fodder tries to force him over, but he gains that position now heading into turn 1. And looking at the front, it seems it's quite an easy battle easy race for our top 2, where Lee has still got to defend possibly from Koulias and Phil. Fodder is still there. And so is Bertie. I feel like anyone could get this final podium position, Luke.
Yeah, Koulias ran wide in Dunlop and went into that very evil bit of AstroTurf on the outside. Got away with it, but it has brought... Well, I was going to say it's brought Phil onto his rear bump. He's been there the entire time. It looks like Phil's taking different lines to Koulias to try and exploit any bit of track, and it's bringing Fodder with him.
It's like, as Koulias gets all kinds of out of shape on the exit, but it looks like so does the GTR of Phil, which allows Koulias to breathe easy for now, but it also puts Phil under pressure from the other rookie this race, Fodder. Fodder is all over the back of that GTR. He's not going to go for it. He thinks better to go for it into Spoon, which I commend him for. It's all about getting a better run onto the back straight, as it looks like Phil runs ever so slightly wide, but he carries the momentum to get a better exit. It looks like maybe he's alright for now. It's all about this run into 130R, as at the front it seems Sparky is going to be easily win this race, followed by Coach, Lee in third. Are we going to see a move into this final chicane? It seems like it could possibly happen. Phil pulls out to the inside, maybe to scare Koulias a little bit. If Koulias doesn't fall for it, it meets the apex, and it looks like everyone will hold position as they head up towards the line. As Sparky wins, followed by Coach, Lee rounds up our final podium position. Koulias holds to 4th, Phil in 5th and 6th, well, 6th for Fodder as well. Our 2 rookies show very impressive races. Bertie in 7th, Ziggy in 8th. Iceman is in P9. Haslett, I'm not quite sure what happened to Haslett, because last time I checked he was at the back of the pack. Possibly an incident, unfortunately. With Sarah in 11th. Tygo, obviously after having an unfortunate race, could possibly still be under threat here from Simon if he's not fully careful, but pretty sure that Ferrari is not a pleasant thing to drive, is it, Luke?
No, he's going to be on fuel mode 6 and coasting. He's drifting onto this straight line. I mean, surely Simon's going to catch him on this one. That Ferrari those tyres are shot. They're flat. That's unfortunate. It was a valiant try from Tiger there. He had a great first 3 quarters of the race, but the life of the tyres just wasn't there, and it's dropped him down from P2 to 13.
I think if I remember correctly, Luke, I think even you could only just make the soft tyres work on a sprint race, and that was in the Mclaren, which is probably one of the better cars for tyre wear.
Yeah, on the old tyre wear, the Mclaren is one of the better cars, and in the sprint race in pre-season, we had a look at it, and the McLaren would do about 8.5 laps. So the Ferrari, unfortunately, having that little bit of knowledge, might have prevented this, but it's unfortunate for him. But it was good to see him try. Some drivers have a knack of making it work. Unfortunately, the Ferrari didn't want to allow it on this one. So unfortunate Tygo, but it was a gutsy drive, I feel.
Absolutely, for the first 8 laps, he was doing so well. Unfortunately, in the end, there's the soft tyres just letting go. But that's what we like to see. We like to see, although it didn't pay out this time, maybe some other time it would pay out. It's all about those gutsy choices that could really help you thrive in this sort of sprint race, Luke.
Yeah, completely agree. But what can I say? That I thoroughly enjoyed that one, and it was so much great driving from all of that pack, particularly from Coach all the way down. I think it was down to what ended up being Fodder in the end, when Bertie was in the mix as well. Ziggy had a good recovery drive, great to see Iceman. Each and every one of those drivers, Coach, Lee, Koulios, Phil, Fodder, in that particular group, brilliant driving from a lot of them, and Sparky driving a faultless race as well, so you have to give it to him, I feel. Anyone that took your particular eye of that one, Kirk?
Yeah, well, what can I say? I think Coach definitely made the most of maybe not a great situation from the start of the race. Obviously, we saw our top two get away quite well, but yeah, I think Coach probably is highest on merit in my books, but I can't take it away from our rookies. Our rookies obviously started down towards the back and finished 5th and 6th respectively. Yeah. But I got to give it out for everyone. We saw a lot of audacious overtakes going on, you know, a little bit of rubbing here and there. It's stuff you'd love to see.
Yeah, and it was looked like mostly fair, good close racing, but shout out to the TWR 3 wide racing boys of Fodder and Phil in that very, very first Nighthawk Racing event and race here, first sprint that they've ever done with us. So it was great to see them, and they've done very, very well starting from the back of the grid. With that in mind, Kirk, I think we should go and look at the qualifying results and then get ready for that feature race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly interesting to see how Fodder gets on. Obviously, we saw him show some fantastic pace within the in the sprint race. So I'm very interested to see how it goes in qualifying in the feature race.
Right, so here's the qualifying results. The qualifying that took place earlier around Suzuka. It was a nice bright qualifying session, but I hear that the feature race is going to be the complete opposite. But let's get into it. Starting in pole, we have obviously one of the new guys from TWR in Wise Fodderboy with a very, very fast time of a 1:58.955. And a little birdie has told me that would have put him 4th on the grid in the red lobby. So that just shows you how fast he really is in that Porsche 911. So I'm excited to see how he gets on during the feature race. He's going to be very fast, I'm sure. But just behind him, we have T50 Phil as well, coming from TWR with a time of a 1:59.590, and that would have put him 7th overall in the red lobby. So obviously the new rookies on the grid are a very good addition, and I'm sure, you know, if they pull out a good performance here in the feature race, we'll definitely see them in the red lobby next week. But starting in P3, we have Fasutu's coach with a kind of a 2-minute flat, a 2-minute and 0.1. So a very, very fast time from him as well, and I'm sure he'll be looking for a very good result here. In P4, we have our very own Zigstar with a 2-minute 0.3, and he started on pole last week, and obviously again in 4th. It's a good couple of weeks from Ziggy. Like Midnight said earlier, he's really kind of, turned a page in the book, and really kind of found his performance again. So I'm excited to see how he can get on. But in P5, again, we have our very own Bertie, a Nighthawk admin with a 2-minute 0.9. So Ziggy and Bertie starting next to each other. Hopefully the Nighthawk admin, their drivers and admin won't take each other out. We're hoping not. But starting just behind Bertie, we have Sparky in P6 with a 2-minute 0.991, so very close to Bertie. But unfortunately, Sparky won't be taking place in the feature race tonight, so hopefully we'll see him back next event. But in P7, we then have Haslett in the Audi R8 with a 2-minute and 1 second 0.099. So again, very close between the top kind of 7. So I'm excited to see how they get on, especially. But I'm going to pass you over to Midnight, who's going to run through the rest of the career.
Thank you very much, sir. I have to say, with the Ziggy and Bertie, they're teammates as well, so they're going to have to definitely try not to crash into each other. But we'll see how that goes. Feature race to come. But P8, we have Lee in that 911 on a 2-minute 1.172. So good qualifying session from Lee, and it's going to be wanting to have a good clean race and put some points on the board here today. In P9 we have Iceman, a late addition to the grid today, but he is in the race and we're happy to see him getting a 2 minutes 1.777. So one for the casino lot there. In P10 we have one half of our Nighthawk Racing co-creators in Sarah Hawkey herself on a 2 minutes 1.882. In P11 we have Tygo, who unfortunately had a little bit of a difficult sprint race, but let's hope he gets a good feature race and a haul of points under his belt. In P12 we have Koulios on a 2 minutes 2, basically flat, but I can only feel there is more pace on Koulios because we know he is very, very quick, and I can only think he had a difficult qualifying session, and there's more to come from him here today in that Honda NSX. And Simon rounding up the grid in P13, unlucky for some, on a 2 minutes 9.250. Good luck to Simon in the race. We've seen he's been practicing, and his race pace is much stronger than his qualifying, so keep an eye on Simon here today, and we do know he does enjoy weather racing as well. But Sarah, that grid, that looks formidable, particularly with the TWR boys on their first race today, and the rest of the grid here in Blue Lobby.
Yeah, obviously a massive congratulations from the TWR boys, pole and second, securing that first grid slots on the starting grid. So excited to see how they get on. Obviously, the birdie has told me that it's going to be very dark, very wet at some points during the race. So let's see how everyone gets on with that. It can be very kind of challenging set of weather conditions to deal with. So yeah, I'm excited to see how everyone gets on, surviving the chaos. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the new rookies get on, especially, and obviously the Nighthawk admin and Ziggy and Bertie as well, starting that high up. Maybe they can put their cars up on the top row.
Yeah, we can only hope. Good luck to all the drivers out there. And yes, the forecast is for both darkness and wet weather. So two very interesting set of racing conditions for them all to deal with. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on, I think, Coach, who's been very, very good this season. Bit unlucky with some retirements that he's had to unfortunately have. But he is going to be after a good result here today. So good luck to Coach out there and the rest of the grid as well. So Sarah, I think it's time to go to the commentary crew for the feature race itself.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how everyone gets on.
Alright, we starting at a very wet Suzuka. We have Fodder leading us away. Interesting enough, off first and second place drivers both starting on the intermediate tyre, where we have a Coach who's on the wet. We have a very lightning start in Ziggy there in P3. Hassler tries to go around the outside of Ziggy into this turn 2. Looks like Ziggy could hold the racing line for now, but we know it's going to be very slippery on the racing line, so all our drivers being extra tentative on the throttle, as it certainly seems like the drivers further back. Oh, who's that going wide? Is Ziggy going wide, Luke? I'm not sure if you saw what happened with Ziggy.
No, didn't see it, I'm afraid, but he has gone wide, fallen to the back of the pack. But the pack is only, a couple of seconds long at this point, so it's unfortunate, but he is still there.
Oh, as we see Bertie get Bertie's round as well as he goes through Dunlop. Not a great start for his race. Fortunately, he's got major damage on that McLaren there, Luke.
Yeah, it looks like those intermediate runners are struggling at the moment. Ziggy and Bertie were both inters. And we got Hassler is the top wet tyre driver at the moment, followed by Coach and a couple of others with wets in there as well, like Iceman. So it looks like the intermediates are struggling.
But look how dry. If we look further through the pack, the track is drying very quickly, Luke. As we look through run further. So it's interesting to see how long those the wet tyres will keep their advantage for. As it seems like Fodder has got quite a decent gap out front as he gets all over that curb, which he probably doesn't want to do too many times as he goes around Spoon.
Yeah, that could end up you lifting your car up off the ground and straight into the barrier. Easily done there. As Phil looks like he's struggling at the moment. He's got Coach on the outside of him and Iceman right behind him, and he looks like he's going to be falling back in this one. Those intermediate tyres on that GTR struggling.
He got very sideways out of Spoon, which cost him his exit down the back straight. As we see Iceman getting sideways out of 130R, and maybe he gives a little taggo, maybe a little bit of a touch there, and maybe sends him wide a little bit. As Phil also tries to go around the outside of Taggo, and Taggo maybe gives him a little tap as well. As it seems like maybe Phil is thinking better of those intermediate tyres, Luke.
Yeah, definitely. That's the only thing he could really be doing. He must be moving to wets. Those inters are just not coping. And into that final corner, Taggo was definitely trying to hang it around the outside, as he's trying to do again. And we see Simon, who is on the back of this pack, enjoying himself, doing the same thing as well. So it looks like all of this pack loving the wet weather. We know Ziggy loved it in the non-championship series, lots of wet weather racing, and now here at Suzuka it's paying off for him.
Certainly seems like that, Luke. But it's also, look how dry the track is. Although Phil's moving on to the wet tyres, from his perspective, the track seems very dry, and I think the rain possibly might have stopped as well, Luke.
Well, maybe he has seen something on the incoming radar. We don't know, don't have access to that at this moment in time. Maybe it's there's a big band of wet weather coming.
Possibly. Obviously, we don't see them.
Lee off in the background. He's off at Degner too. No damage, but those intermediates given out on him. And Sarah is joining for the pass. Looks like she has had an off as well with front left and front aero damage, but gets the pass on Lee with those wet tyres.
And Bertie behind in 11th again. Still got major damage from his spin on the first lap, but he seems to be braving it out for now, Luke.
Yeah. Hassler up to P2 on those wet tyres. He does like these conditions. He was really good in the wet at Dragon Trail in Season 3 in the heavy monsoon rain, and he's making the most of it as well. And there's just so much pack fighting at the moment. It's hard to follow. You've got Taggo, Koulios, Iceman all together. Who's going to come off best in the 130R? Nobody knows.
You don't want to go side by side through 130R in the
dry, let alone this.
Yeah, but it seems like Koulios comes out ahead at Iceman for the minute, and looks like they're all kind of pushing a Hassler around the corners. Maybe he made a slight mistake going through 130R, but look how dry this track is getting. You wouldn't believe the start was almost in full wet conditions, would you, Luke?
Well, I'm still calling it wet at the moment. There's still so much spray. It's all easy to drop it, but it does look like the rain has stopped falling. Taggo up to P3, Koulios up to P4, Coach falling.
Fodder off at turn 1. Oh, is that a spinner in the background? Is that a Taggo spinning on the turn 1 loop? It looks like it got a little bit too wide and onto the AstroTurf, and it just pulled the rear of that car around.
Yeah, looks like it. It does look like it. That's going to be unfortunate for him. He was riding high, I think 4th place at the time. But these are the conditions where you just want to keep circulating, not worry about lap time, and just circulate. Try and get yourself to either to the next weather window, so you can either think about slicks, which I think is going to be only a lap or two away, potentially, or at very least for another set of inters to go a bit further. But at the moment, Degner 1 is full of a bunch of cars trying to get around it all at the same time.
Yeah, you've got to be ever so careful in these conditions. Obviously, if you touch a curb on the we see Taggo going off again at Degner, on the exit of Degner 1 and losing a place to Lee. Lee being promoted up into 8th place in that Porsche. This track is looking looks like it's getting very dry very quickly. Surely, maybe it might be worth someone who's not having the greatest of races, such as Sarah, Taggo or Lee, to maybe take the first gamble onto the dry tyres. But I also want to give it a quick shout out. Oh, I'm just going to hold my words for a minute. I was going to say, I just want to give out a shout out to Simon running up in 7th place, Luke, doing very well at the moment.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was thinking of exactly the same thing. He's doing very well. I'm just keeping an eye on Koulios and Haslett. Both are setting purple sectors, I believe. Haslett running wide at 130R. Koulios through, Coach running wide at 130R. And in the barrier straight away, that is massive damage to Coach. He's going to be surely straight into the pits and onto Inters.
As Super Simon takes advantage of Coach's unfortunate incident to go up into a P6. I'm sure Simon must be getting dizzy at this point, Luke.
Yeah, he'll be absolutely loving it, but he has got Lee for company on intermediate tyres. Those wets, although on the McLaren, are going to start to suffer in these conditions. It is at that point. There is little spray now. Those tyres are going to start overheating very quickly, and you can just see Lee's got so much more grip than Simon. And here comes Tiger as well, 2 in 1 corner. The wets are no longer the tyre to be on.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem like it. I was just saying, Phil went wide in the exit, going around turn 1 and 2, which allows both Sarah and Bertie to sneak through. Bertie is still circulating with his heavy damage. Well, like all drivers are circulating with the heavy damage at the minute, but it doesn't look like anybody's quite taken the gamble yet. Maybe they're seeing something we don't see, Luke.
Well, I think they're all thinking, let's get to the next weather window and think when we can change slicks, or even when they know what the weather's going to do. So yeah, I mean, even Coach didn't come in the pits with that massive damage.
I'm just looking at the front. We see our very own Ziggy up in P3. I'm very happy to see Ziggy doing so well. Well, I just wanted to mention, even the intermediate runner trying to search for wetter parts of the track, I can't think about how difficult it's going to be on the wet tyres. Or any drivers who are still on the wet tyres. It looks like as Iceman and Hassler are battling for P4.
Yeah, Iceman getting up of Hassler in the spoon braking zone. You can see it's just a confidence factor at the moment, but you did see Iceman run a little wide. Let's let Hassler back up the inside of the back straight, heading into 130R. These two gents going to go side by side into a very damp corner.
Oh, okay. As I said it once and I'll say it again, you don't want to go through 130R in the drive, let alone the wet. It seems like maybe Hassler gave Iceman a little bit of a shoulder to say, "You ain't. I'm taking this race online. You have to sit behind me for a little bit longer." As we're going to see, everybody continues to set out for the moment. I'm thinking maybe maybe a Super Simon, maybe a Sarah is going to think about coming in for the slick tyres. It's certainly getting borderline for this minute. As we see Simon's in. And we got Bertie and Phil both in as well.
Yeah, and Coach.
Maybe we're going to see off. And Coach, we see Iceman again running wide into the first corner, which allows Lee and Hassett to sneak through.
We've had Tygo off at the final corner, and we have lost Tygo, so that is one retirement in the session.
Unfortunate things. Obviously, you never really see it, but these things happen. I'm sure we'll see him again at some point. Let's have a look. Is Simon going to come out on the slicks? He has come out on the mediums. You're going to have to be ever so careful. That pit lane is still very, very damp until you reach that racing line where it's dry. And here we are. Yet Super Simon is our first driver out on the slick, on the medium tyres.
Phil has gone for intermediates. Has he seen a band of weather we haven't seen? Or was it just too early for slicks? Time will tell.
I'm also Bertie's out on the soft tyres. It's going to be very interesting to see how that McLaren fares. As we know, that McLaren is already good on tyres, but in the wet rain, or when the track is still
P2,
slightly damp.
Battle for P2. Sorry, big change of place. Ziggy has just got Koulios, who's just lit up his rear tyres coming out of the hairpin, nearly stuffing it in the wall. Power sliding round spoon. Ziggy up to P2. Sorry about that, Kurt.
No, it's certainly no problem at all, Luke. I was just mentioning Bertie seems maybe be the driver to watch, the first of our drivers on the who's that, Simon, or Simon maybe got on the wet patch and lost a bit of time. I would say maybe Bertie is the driver to watch in these changeable conditions. They're being the first of the drivers onto the soft, well, the lead slick runner, and he's on the softs as well.
Fodder has gone round for another lap. I don't know. I think Koulios has to come in. There's like these rear tyres are shot. What does Ziggy do? He goes round for another lap.
Stays out.
Koulios is in. Watch that white lines. Lee goes round, and I think it's sensible for all of the intermediate drivers to go round again. Hassler on the wets has pulled off to the right hand side. It's cooling his tyres, but it's going to be tricky for him in this next lap on those full wets.
It seems like Bertie spun it, spoon, midnight. The lead soft runner's gone a bit too wide and gone to the curb, and he's dropped to the back of the pack after spinning on the wet part of the track. Maybe it's slightly too early for the slick tyres, Luke, because it seems like quite a few drivers are falling victim to the dangers of this wet track.
Well, we've got another one out. on soft tyres, and that is Koulios, who's now our lead slick tyre runner. He's come out in P5. I have to say, I think it is time for slicks. You just got to be extremely careful. Iceman, yeah, there we go. He's lit it up on coming out of the pits as well. So it is just be super careful.
Iceman, unfortunately, picking up a 3-second penalty as well. Penalty, pit lane infringement penalty from the entrance, calling it a little bit too late on the entry to the pit and getting up a penalty.
Surely, the same as Iceman.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, surely Koulios has got to be catching at a rate of knots as we see Ashley spinning on the entry to the hairpin. Oh, that's probably not a place to park it. But yeah, then wet tyres are completely destroyed. Surely Koulios has got to be catching it at I say a rate of knots, but I don't think that measurement's big enough, Midnight.
Yeah, I would say so. He's got to be the fastest man on the track at the moment, but I'm just keeping an eye on P2 because Lee is coming at Ziggy at a rate of knots as well, and you can see in the second view we've got Simon and Bertie going at it in the two McLarens. That's all around the track.
Absolutely. Obviously, we know Bertie unfortunately got onto the wet part of the track, which cost him a bit of time. Oh, I'm touching those curbs again. Probably something you don't really want to be doing in these conditions, is it, Luke?
No, I would not want to be doing it. Fodder and Ziggy have gone round again. Lee has come in the pits. I think that is a sensible thing to do. We have to watch out for what Koulios does, not this lap, but next lap, to see what his pace is like compared to Fodder. At the moment, the fastest lap is Fodder, a 2:08.6. We have to see what happens in about 2 minutes' time. Yeah, and so Haslett's tyres have completely gone. They are full red on each side now. He's definitely gone a lap too long.
Absolutely. Well, surely Fodder in... Yep.
He's gone again.
That's what happens when the tyre just gets a little bit too much. You just got to nurse this car back into bits. It's a long way to go. A lot could still happen in this race. Yeah, you can. I just want to say about how fast Koulios is catching Ziggy. Ziggy's gone from a pit stop ahead to only being a couple of corners ahead of Koulios. As Koulios is on the wet stuff.
Yeah, that's ambitious. Those curbs are still full of water.
That would certainly be a heart in the back of your front. Okay, but Ziggy's off at the hairpin. Oh, unfortunately, there Ziggy just gone off.
Yeah.
Which allows Koulios gives a bit of a cheeky flash, say, I'm on the sticks, get out my way. And Ziggy didn't exactly make it easy for him.
Yeah, Koulios did have to put two tyres on the wet stuff, but he's got away with it. He's going to be 5 or 6 seconds a lap quicker than everyone at the moment. It's going to hopefully start calming down a bit now. It's been non-stop action for the first 7 laps.
It looks like Phil on the previous lap on the intermediate is set the fastest lap of the race. So obviously Inters have still got a little bit of pace for the minute. Surely that fastest lap follows in. It's about time. Those Inters don't look like they've got much more to give. I was just going to say, surely it's only a matter of time before a slick tyre sets the fastest lap, wouldn't you say, Luke?
Absolutely. I think we're going to see it this lap. Koulios coming across the line. It's got to be a low 2:02. Yeah, there we go. 4 seconds quicker. And Fodder was circulating in the 2 minute 12, so 6 seconds a lap quicker. 10 seconds a lap quicker.
And it'd be interesting to see where Lee comes out compared to Fodder. Obviously, Lee being another driver on the slick tyres. It looks like... Fodder's come out on another set of Inters, Luke.
That is surprising. I can only imagine he has seen...
Oh, it's raining. It's raining, Luke.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. The rain is coming back, so those drivers on the softs and mediums are going to now be suffering. Can they weather it, literally, to get around to either pit again or survive it for this short, sharp sprint shower?
Yeah, it certainly seems like it could be borderline for the minute unless we've got more rain coming. It certainly seems like maybe some parts of the track could be ever so slightly wetter than the others. But that moisture bar is probably perfectly in the changeover zone from slick to Inters, Luke.
Yeah, it's now at that point where the slick tyre drivers are going off. Ziggy pulling a blinder, and he's gone to inters. So he's changed his inters.
Oh, Koulios on the wet. Our leader Koulios on the wet part of the track. It seems like I'm sure this is I'm not sure how much rain's coming. He's gone very wide again on the very wet part of the track. Oh, I'm sure Koulios is living life very dangerously, Luke.
Yeah, and I can definitely say for Phil as well, worn intermediate tyres, although they will stop you completely sliding off, which we're seeing with Iceman just going wide on Degner too. Worn intermediates are horrible as well. You lose all of the grip.
Coach's got damaged and spun on going around Dunlop. It's not a proud moment. He's tried to accelerate on the and possibly caught Simon as well. Simon again, maybe calling another fantastic call from Simon. He's also chose.
Yeah,
it looks like now you want to be changing for the intermediate. Wow, what this track now is. You don't want to be out in those slick tyres anymore as he does come into the pits. If we look for our other slick runner of Lee, he goes straight on at the final chicane. It certainly seems like maybe slicks are no longer be on, Luke.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's nearly back to full wet. So it's gone from full wet to near dry, back to full wet again. So it's one of those tricky set of circumstances. What tyre do you go with? Either way, you're either shredding some wet tyres, the inters won't last too long, and then as soon as it rains again, the slicks are just not holding up. But it looks like Ziggy and Fodder have played this strategy perfectly. It's such a tightrope to perform.
So unfortunately for Bertie, it seems to have not paid out for him, as he spins into the pit lane. Probably not. And it's reset him to track as well, Luke. It's probably not. It certainly has not gone well for Bertie there, Luke.
Yeah, Iceman having another spin before Casio. Simon on inters and Hassler on wets. I feel the wets might have been a bit too ambitious, because I don't think there's enough standing water to warrant the wets at the moment.
Phil having a brown trousers moment. He seems to have been on the exit of Degner 1 and into Degner 2, Luke.
Well, the new TWR 3 Wide Racing boys have made the way up to 1 and 2 as Fodder does run wide in Spoon, but he'll get away with that. Some of that standing water is sitting on the outside of those curbs, but the TWR boys doing very, very well. So Ziggy, our admin, our commentator in P3, and Koulios back on those intermediate tyres in P4.
I just want to say, what an absolutely fantastic race Simon is having. I know I can't believe I'm saying this, Luke. We're not even a third into it yet.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. Oh, Haslett having a gigantic slide through Dunlop. Yeah, there's so much going on all over the place. I don't know where to look.
Oh, it's Sarah. It seems like Sarah's spun there on the Dunlop. Unfortunately, picking up a bit of front end damage, Luke.
So easily done round here. So easily done. Coach changing back to wet tyres, so he feels there is enough standing water around here.
Oh,
which tyres would you go to? Now it looks like it is back to standing water. It looks like
it is so
deep puddles. Those inters, I feel, are going to start struggling. Same with Ziggy, same with Koulios. You can see him fighting the car. So the top wet runner of Lee looks like he's now in the bounty.
It is so borderline. I think this is literally maybe only just in the wets, ever so slightly. Well, I know the times definitely be very similar.
Yeah, this is changing lap by lap, and that is putting it politely. So Koulios coming in again. What's the bet that is for wet tyres?
I can almost guarantee it. But I was saying, you can see how heavy the rain's pouring down. Maybe the wets will be a good call for the moment, Luke.
Yeah, they're just going to be hoping it settles down a little bit, particularly coming into the night. As we're going to see Koulios taking wet tyres. That's no big surprise. But not choosing to fuel up to the end. But we've still got 20 laps to go. He knows he's going to have to stop again at some point. But I'd have to say, I'm impressed at the moment. We're particularly with Phil in B2, who's making those intermediates work despite the weather definitely being very tricky at the moment.
Absolutely. If I'm looking at the it looks like Bertie. Bertie's still on the soft tyres there, Luke.
Ooh,
It looks like it.
That's ambitious. We call him the tyre whisperer. That can get the tyres a long way, but I don't think that is slick tyre territory, Bertie. But it's a out of the box strategy which I wouldn't have advised. Nice try, mate.
And I'm not sure. I know Coach was also struggling on the soft tyres as the rain come in. That's an interpretation of track limits as Boyle Coach goes through that final game. But maybe we're looking at a bit of a redemption race from both Coach and Bertie, Luke.
Well, we can only hope there's going to want the conditions to settle down so they can actually focus on moving forwards rather than focusing on reacting to the weather. But Koulias looks like he's moving in on Lee now, so he's got onto those wet tyres and now he is desiring that 4th place.
And surely you've got to think it's only a matter of time. We know how Koulias can do quite well in the wet conditions, as I think that is our closest battle on track for the minute. Between the 2 British drivers.
Fill in, and what's the bet that he changes to a set of wet tyres?
I could say more than probable, Luke, as we see all around the track that moisture bar is in the blue, so we know there's a lot of standing water on this track.
Yeah, you can see Lee struggling a little bit with the power on, but as soon as he gets moving, that 911 does shoot away from that Honda a little bit. And Lee moving to the right hand side to avoid any slipstream, but I think Koulias will be happy just to have a clear line of sight to turn 1. In these conditions, sight and visuals become a real problem, particularly with the night encroaching. Daylight is fading at this point.
Yeah, it is, and obviously this heavy, thick rain clouds we have over the circuit isn't going to help with the light conditions neither.
One thing you can see is, Koulias is looking much more racy around the tight corner, so he gets that position taken. And I think that Lee choosing not to fight that one too hard, choosing life. But Phil has come out on wet tyres right behind Ziggy.
Yeah, he certainly seems like he's giving the Portuguese man a run for his money for that 2nd place. I know maybe not on the same strategy, but if for my money, I'd probably want to be on the wet tyres at this moment in time, Luke.
I would agree with you, but Ziggy looking good. It looks like he's under control at the moment. He does like these conditions, and he helped put together a winter wet series, and he looks like he is thoroughly loving it at the moment. Apart from that early lap 1 spin, but I think we can forgive a moment of lapse of concentration in this race. But Ziggy, has to be said, is driving very well and has more fuel than Phil behind him. So if the weather continues to change, and to be fair, Ziggy choosing to let Phil through. So maybe he thought coming through 130R it's better to follow someone than risk a incident perhaps.
I've said it once, I say it twice, and I say it a 3rd time. You don't want to go side by side through 130R in the dry, and you definitely don't want to do it in the wet. Ziggy, I think as you would say, Luke, Ziggy chose life.
Sid the Sloth approves. Well,
and just
I think we're
going
starting to settle down now, at least a bit, Kirk, but I have to say, Simon having a race of his Nighthawk racing career so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I've seen him put a foot wrong at this race, Luke. He's driving very impressively for the time being. Got quite a nice, comfortable gap in front of Sarah, and just really found his own little space on track where he can just focus on trying to survive this monsoon conditions.
Yeah, this race is all about survival, and just even being on the lead lap or even just 1 lap down is such a try around here. You've got to try your hardest. I mean, at the end of the day, focusing on pace is the last thing you want to be doing, as Ziggy power slides it casually around Degner too. But yeah, this is a very difficult race. You just got to survive it, and then just try and get a little bit of racing out of it while you're here.
Absolutely. Just looking, who is our fastest one? Seems like out of everyone, Koulios was our fastest driver on the previous lap, being our only driver to set a sub 2 minute 20 lap time. So maybe we could see Koulios coming towards Ziggy and Phil in the later few laps, because it doesn't seem like he's all that far behind.
Yeah.
As maybe this rain's easing off a bit, as the track seems to be drying ever so slightly.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Koulios is one you've got to watch in the wet. And we know from personal experience, you can never count him out, particularly in a wet race. So keep an eye on him. He might be after another good result, perhaps sneak up another podium. But I am watching, keeping a very close eye on Ziggy, our third place man at the moment, because he's now stuck with Phil. And like you say, with the weather easing up ever so slightly, those wet tyres are going to start to degrade.
I think it may have even possibly stopped raining as there's a few drops in the air. I don't see wipers going anymore. Only the people who are following others wipers seem to be going.
I suppose we also better talk about our leader. What a cracking race he's having at the moment, Fodder.
Yeah, he seems to be making all the perfect calls for the most part. Well, for every part of this race for the minute, and seems to be driving for the most part faultlessly, having quite a healthy margin to the car behind.
Yeah, strategically he's been completely faultless so far. He's had one, from what we've seen, minor off at turn 1 and Spoon, but I think we can forgive him that for this race, for these conditions. What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, I think if you're winning the race, you seem to be doing most things. But there's still a long ways to go yet, Luke.
Yeah, just not quite halfway yet, but it looks like this battle with Ziggy and Phil is going to go quite a way if they can just stick this close to each other. With Ziggy with the advantage, as far as I can tell, on the intermediates, with the conditions changing, and the more fuel.
Absolutely, it means having more fuel for the moment means he has to take less in a pit stop, which gives him the advantage over Phil. But I'm sure if this track dries out again, or we might see a change in the weather again, it could certainly spice it all up again.
But otherwise, at the moment, I have to say, Koulios and Lee are doing very well. Both of them had great sprint races as well, so continuing into the feature. And Haslett, after a little recovery from those dead wet tyres earlier on, up to P6 again. But Simon, again, running high. Looks like he, on those intermediate tyres, he's loving out of Suzuka at the moment.
I don't want to say Koulios is catching, but I think Koulios may be catching, as on the previous lap he was 6 seconds faster, well, about 6 seconds a lap faster than both Phil and Ziggy, although this track is definitely getting very dry now. I've spoken too soon as he's on straight on at the final chicane midnight. Oh wow. The curse of the commentator strikes again, unfortunately.
It does appear so, but he's still, let's see what time he sets during that lap. He's still set at 2:16, so only a second slower than Ziggy and 2 than Phil, so that would have halted his progress, but he's not ruined it. Bertie's on the lap down, by the way. He's just behind Ziggy at the moment. So Bertie laps with that soft tyre strategy in the wet, which is one which will probably not be repeated this season.
And here we are, I'm looking down towards the battle for P8. That seems to be heating up for the moment. Iceman and Sarah battling together. Iceman putting out ever so slightly as they approach 130R. Maybe thinking of trying to scare Sarah off, but you're going to have to do a bit more than that if you want to overtake Miss Hawkey, as she holds 8th place for now.
Yeah, it looks like she's actually driving quite well. It's obviously very tricky conditions. Easy to have a spin. She's driving with damage at the moment, but yet still holding Iceman back, who we know from testing is a pretty rapid driver. So Keep going there, Miss Hawkey. Get some points on the board for yourself and for your team. And keep Iceman behind you. Do the best you can. That's all we can ask of anyone in these conditions. And do you know what? I keep coming back to it. Simon having a cracking race. Every time I see him, it looks like he's doing well and completely in tune and enjoying himself.
Yeah, he certainly seems to be enjoying himself out there. You know, looking at his previous lap times. There's a little half spin there in Degner too. We can have hiccups. We'll allow hiccups now and again. Actually, setting his personal, going for the second sector, is actually setting his personal best to the lap of the race. So driving very well at this moment in time. As we see, it seems like somebody may have spun in front.
Yeah,
and
Bertie.
who's that in front of him?
Bertie
he's
off, and yeah, I think it was coming out of Degner too, I believe. But you're not going to believe this. Coach to slick tyres. He's trying it.
Well, you know, when you're quite far behind, like Coach, unfortunately, is sometimes you've got to send it a little bit, and it certainly seems like Coach doesn't seem to see any more signs of rain, and is gone for it.
Well, it depends what you're going to see on the radar. I mean, we've seen the rain has come and gone a couple of times already, so if he sees a little gap where he can pump in some laps or perhaps steal the fastest lap of the race, or at very least catch up to the back of the pack with some rapid laps, he's going to try it. And we do know Coach is very good on tyre, which we've seen in previous seasons, particularly, I think it was Interlagos in season 2. But anywho, if you want to check that one out, check out our YouTube and go and have a look at that. It's a brilliant race from Coach. At the moment, I think Phil was doing a tremendous job on those wet tyres, considering they are now aging and starting to rapidly degrade.
Yeah, obviously as this track dries out ever so slightly, as it looks like we've got another spinner off. Who is it? Oh, it's Coach.
It is Coach. That's unfortunate.
It's Spoon. It seems like he may have just got onto the wet stuff, and obviously it's not something you want to do on the slick tyres. Believe it or not, slick tyres and wet track don't quite go together very well. Yeah, what can you say? It looks like he maybe got, just as he approached Spoon, you see the Iceman also comes out on the slick tyres as well.
Yeah, it's crossover time.
As he gets very sideways going out the pits and crosses the pit line. Does he pick a penalty up though? No, he doesn't. Not for crossing the pit lane, Luke.
Well, if there's a way to get around it, I haven't discovered it, but well done if you have. Phil goes round again. Ziggy goes round again. Fodder's already gone round. Now, Koulios in those wet tyres, is he just going to keep extending? No, he's gone off. He's extended the track. Is he going to extend the stint and go round again, or is he going to come in for the pits? He's pitting. So another one, I think, coming for the slick tyres. So what does Lee do? We're sort of playing guesswork with the strategy now, aren't we, Kurt?
Yeah, you know, obviously the drivers can see the radar more than what we can. I think maybe it might have been worth just doing one more lap, let the track properly dry out, as we see it. As a Miss Hawkey going wide at Spoon, unfortunately. But that obviously happens. Is Koulios comes out in a fresh set of wet. Oh, it took a second to update. He's come out on a fresh set of soft tyres, so it'd be interesting to see how he catches and approaches Lee, which is the driver in front of him, on some old wets. Well, how much time he can close up to the front runners of Ziggy, Phil, and Fodder.
Yeah, quite right. And we've got Haslett somewhat on the back of Koulios at the moment. But do you know what? I hope our second view watches Haslett on this one, because I think his rear tyres are going to go off shortly. We're going to have another Spinneroonie event. There we go.
Oh, would you say you called it, Luke?
I hope somebody picks up that phone, because I called it. Yeah, dead rear tyres equals spinning, especially on Suzuka. Haslett won't be happy for pointing that one out, but Simon's going to be happy up to P6. Those intermediates look like they are lasting so much longer on this drying track. Which brings me to Phil in P2. He's now got Ziggy breathing down his neck again. Surely Phil in this lap.
Surely we see going out onto the slick tyres. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, we see a spinner. Oh, unfortunately, it's Hassler again. Not really what you want to see, but when your tyres are as worn down.
Yeah, fill it in again. So
Ziggy
pick up that phone. I called it.
Ziggy chooses to stay out for an hour. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, it's Koulias has spun on the exit a spoon. It seems like he couldn't quite keep it on the dry stuff, Luke.
Yeah, that's the hazard round here. If you come off that racing line, you're on the wet track, and those slick tyres just don't work.
Oh, I thought I see our driver pointing sideways, and unfortunately, it's Hassler again.
I think we cannot be surprised with that one until he comes in for the pits, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It's
Sometimes it happens,
it's unfortunate, but it's also a little bit funny. Maybe not for him.
Your words. Your words, not mine.
You have to take it the rough with the smooth, and then the humorous with the unfortunate at the same time. Phil comes out. Oh, he's going to be lucky not to pick up a time penalty there, but he's got away with it. He's gone to medium tyres. I have noticed, Kirk, most drivers going for the softs, looking to pick up the most pace they can, but maybe this is the time to think mediums. If this is going to be a longer dry spell, Suzuka shreds tyres, mediums might be the way to go.
I'm not sure what happened to Sarah there, but it looks like she was getting quite onto the grass, going to the exit of Cassio, or the chicane into Cassio, as we see our leader in. Fodder in. It's been quite a simple race for Fodder for this moment in time.
Yeah, when you're out front like that, it's just a matter of circulating as best as you can and just trying to keep your race under control. Everyone else fighting and fight themselves. Fodder doing a fantastic job at the moment.
As fortunately, Hassler makes it into the pits. Funnily enough, I don't want to. That's too unfortunate for Bertie, but even on Hassler's very worn tyres, Bertie's only just unlapped himself from Hassler.
Ooh, Koulias having another moment. We have had information that Sarah's spin was during the phase when she was moving out of the way for Fodder, so unfortunately probably touching a little bit of the damn track in the process. So Ziggy in, that's expected. Do you know, I think Ziggy at the moment, Ziggy and Fodder running tactically beautiful races between them. Fodder picking up a 3-second penalty cut.
Yeah, it was like a penalty, a pit lane infringement. We've seen quite a few of those this race. That pit lane obviously staying wet while everybody else where everybody's trying to get out, exit on the dry tyres.
Koulias looks like he's going to go up to P2. Ziggy and Spun coming out the pit lane. He's picked up
no, not
in
Ziggy.
And out.
Come very close to Koulias.
He's lucky. He only spun it. He hasn't picked up any damage. That is good news.
He's picked another. Somehow he's picked another penalty, a pit lane infringement penalty up to go to 6 seconds.
In and out, I think. This race keeps changing and changing again, Kirk.
It seems like Koulias has taken full advantage of this transition to jump from 4th up to 2nd midnight.
Yeah, I mean, can you name? I mean, I think I'm not going to say it's certain because it's not, but Fodder looks like he's rooted in first at the moment. But can you name any of the next 5 in what order?
I couldn't name them. I couldn't tell you how they're going to finish anyway, Luke. It seems like anyone could finish anywhere.
Although I will say I've spotted Lee, who recently pitted, and he went back to intermediate tyres. I mean, it's a safer option, Kirk, especially given all the carnage that's going on around him. But I can only feel that those tyres are only going to last about 4 laps.
Yeah, unless you can find a bit of wet stuff to keep them cool, which it doesn't seem like there's all that much to the track that is still wet or suitably wet for the intermediate tyres. It's probably good. They're probably going to struggle. Unless you try to call a bit of rain a bit early, which seems we haven't seen.
It's possible.
But for now, it certainly seems like them intermediates are just going to tear themselves apart.
Well, I have to give a shout out to all the drivers that have done so well so far, just getting around the track. Sarah actually doing quite well, sort of managing with that damage so long. That front right tyre is about to die, it's about to expire, so she's going to be coming in for what I think, if the conditions stay as they are, will be our final stop for the night. As literally it's night is descending here.
As it certainly seems like we're getting towards the point of the final pit stops, barring any change in the weather. I think you could probably take a set of mediums about 10 or so laps. I know you could probably ride it in the McLaren. I know you just about managed to get a set of softs 9 laps, but
well,
what would you be doing now?
If the track is wet, you could extend the life of a tyre a long way, even soft tyres. But it's not wet enough for that. You can definitely get a set of mediums in a McLaren, and probably most of the cars from about 12 to 13 laps. So we're definitely in the zone, if the conditions stay dry, of going to the end. As Lee does come in to get rid of those intermediate tyres. He's fueling up. I have spotted Ziggy, when he came in, he didn't refuel. I think that's a bit of a tactical error. So this is
Possibly.
the only error he's made today, I feel.
I was just looking at Sarah, whose tyres are very dead, making all sorts of creative interpretation of the track at the final chicane.
Yeah, it happens when you have no tyres left, I'm afraid. Sarah coming into the pits to get rid of those very dead intermediate tyres, which I think has done outstandingly well to get to that distance on those tyres without damage. So well done.
Yes.
We do have Coach back in the pits as well.
Koulios has spun on the exit of Spoon again and lost the position to Ziggy and Phil, should I say. I'm not sure what quite happened there with Koulios, but obviously not of what he really wants to be doing.
Yeah, quite right. We do have it. Funny enough, yet again, Phil followed by Ziggy. He's going to be having nightmares of those headlights in his rearview mirror.
Certainly seems like it. I'm sure by the end of this race he's not going to forget what those headlights are like. Phil won't.
I think we have another retirement from Coach as well in P10. So Coach going about 2/3 distance into the race and calling it a day.
I know we've talked about him a few times during this feature race, Luke, but Simon up in 7th doing very well.
Yeah, he joined the series, I believe in Season 2 or early Season 3, as a complete rookie, and he is still improving, doesn't get the time he wants to practice on it, but I have to say, this is impressive from the gentleman.
Also setting a very good personal best lap time of a 2:13, which is very well done. Yep. Very well done, should I say?
Because that he ran a bit wider. But again, in these conditions, I think that we can forgive. Ooh, spotting Lee. He has a little bit of front end damage. He's had an excursion or perhaps a collision with another driver. As I think it's safe to say now, Kirk, darkness has descended here at Suzuka.
It absolutely has. It is almost pitch black. Oh, as we say, Simon going up straight on at the chicane and unfortunately picking a bit of damage up. As it looks like Haslett maybe almost joined him there, but Haslett overtakes Simon as Simon tries to recover and promotes Haslett up into 7th.
Looks like those two are going to be swapping positions for a while. Sarah moving out of the way from Phil, and Ziggy and Sarah get a bit caught up together.
Oh no! Oh, and again.
A little bit of touching, and unfortunately that is end up with Sarah in the barrier. That is unfortunate. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication between the Night Hawk Racing admin there. But it does happen, especially in the dark, especially in these conditions. That is unfortunate, but at least both drivers still back on track and moving forward. Ziggy with a little bit of front end damage though.
That's obviously not going to help Ziggy's race any more at all. Obviously, he's battling for a podium at this precise moment in time, with Koulios obviously picking up a bit of front damage. Is not what you want. But I'm thinking, could possibly Phil Phil could almost certainly get towards the end of this race with what's remaining. I'm just thinking Ziggy and Koulios. Well, Koulios definitely is going to have to pit again due to his fuel situation, and Ziggy may need to pit again for both fuel and tyres.
Yeah, I would imagine Fodder, yeah, he's probably going to have to pit again, and I would imagine thinking about soft tyres as well there. And Phil, yeah, I think he's going to the end, like you say. Ziggy, he'll definitely have to pit after that incident with Sarah, and it's been unfortunate for the pair of them there. Both of them losing out a little bit on that one. But yeah, pit-wise, Koulios is going to be wishing for that fuel nozzle to be perhaps a bit closer, because he's going to be calling that a bit fine.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Gear 1, there's not really, everyone seems to be running their own race now, that close together, you know. After 21 laps, it seems like everybody's kind of settled into their own little thing.
Yeah, but it's at that point where now strategy looks like it's going to be playing more of a major factor than what the weather will be, unless we're going to see any more showers towards the end. First half of this race, very, very soaking wet in a couple of places, and now it's just we're back to that stay off the curbs and try and get to the end on the same tyre strategy. So it's going to see a lot of people pitting still.
I just want a little shout out to Iceman. Iceman's drove a very solid race, running up in P5. Obviously, we saw early on him get into a bit of trouble with weather and strategy, but he's doing very well. And you see Koulios pitting on what is essentially fumes with 0% fuel left.
Well, we can definitely say, well, Koulios, yeah, Koulios 0% fuel, well called. But we can definitely say we're in that final stretch of the race, that final under third now, nearly only quarter to go. These drivers are just going to be begging for the end of the race. It's been a tough track, hasn't it?
Yeah, actually, it is a week, I want to say. You know, a few of our drivers got yellow headlights, and a few's got white headlights. I don't know which one you'd prefer to drive with, Luke.
Well, I know a little something about this. The yellow helps with contrast between the different features that you can see in front of you, so you can see the track a little bit easier, but it's obviously that tin means it's slightly darker, so I think it comes down to personal preference. Personally, I would go with the white clear lights, like the xenon lights that you can see with Lee now, but Kirk, what's your thought on it?
I don't know, I haven't really put any thought to it, if I'm being honest with you. I couldn't even tell you what colour I run on the Viper, whether I run the yellow or white lights.
You're just used to it, you just turn up and go.
Yeah, I just turn up here. Probably the best way to sum it up, turn up and go. I don't know, maybe it's worth a little bit of an investigation to see which is better.
Well, I can say the next night scheduled race that we have a back-to-back in the next race at Deep Forest, standard way round, and then reverse, and the reverse is going to be towards, or very least, full night, so something to look forward to. At least for these drivers, there won't be any wet weather there. They'll be very, very happy about that. But fight on track now, we've got Lee and Iceman. So it seems like Iceman had just pitted for fresh mediums, he's going to the end.
And I'm just seeing, it seems the track is dried out pretty much fully now. It seems like our drivers, even on the slick tyres, have been able to go on the curbs of the society, as they are still slightly damp, as we see Iceman going wide onto the curb and kicking up a bit of spray. But everyone seems maybe getting a little bit comfortable now with running on the curbs.
Yeah, it's now much less of a problem racing at night. All the drivers have sort of zoned in. They're happy. They know the track. They know what's to be expected. It's just those curbs, like you say, as long as they can keep the car pointing in the right direction after touching them with a little bit of dampness still in them, then they're going to keep doing it.
It's an interesting line through the Degners from Ivan. Maybe unintentionally gets in the way of Ziggy ever so slightly. Yeah, it seems like everybody is kind of settled their own rhythm now. I don't know if you have anything you want to say there, Luke?
Well, I can bring you some information on the yellow versus white headlights. I can tell you the first two drivers in Fodder and Phil are both running the yellow headlights. So maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's something we need to watch out for. But I can say, growing up, I always remember seeing like the Le Mans races running at night with the discs glowing and night races and headlights into the darkness. I think there's something magical about it, and Suzuka here as well. I think it's quite a pretty sight.
Obviously, Bertie pitting again onto a set of soft tyres, probably going to try and take them towards the end of the race now. Obviously, being, I believe, a lap, maybe lap or 2 laps behind.
I think Bertie's just fallen 2 laps behind.
Yeah, so technically only 6 laps for him to go for a set on the set.
Yeah, he's going to be attempting the fastest lap there, I feel. It's well within his reach at 2:02 as well.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what he's set in qualifying, but yeah, we always want. He's 10th place, so he does get the extra bonus point for fastest lap if he can somehow, I say somehow, but if he can achieve fastest lap.
I do have some information on the Sarah and Ziggy little collision earlier on. There is a 5-second penalty for Ziggy post-race.
Oh.
Unfortunately, he's just going to have to make sure he keeps Koulias more than 5 seconds behind him. But saying that, Koulias, just there and then, he must have heard me because he set a fastest lap of the race.
he doesn't want Bertie. I don't know if he knows Bertie's also going for the fastest lap of the race, but
we have Fodder in again. Has he seen something on the weather radar, or is he going to take a shot at the fastest lap as well?
I couldn't tell you. Everybody's say Haslett going very wide at Spoon, letting Phil go through. I couldn't tell you anything for a certain, Luke, but I think he'll be trying to get a bit of fuel and maybe going for.
Quite possibly. I can tell you, Koulias' fastest lap is half a second faster than his qualifying lap. So good driving from the young Englishman there.
And it probably seems like maybe the curbs are completely dry now, so they can drive. Well, the track must be completely dry, so they can really attack everything and to be able to go for fastest lap.
Yeah, it's at that point you're now thinking, I need to steal an extra couple of points. Let's think championship. Let's think play the long game. If I got a gap behind me, can I pit? Ziggy's thinking that now. Hopefully he's not picked up another penalty coming into the pits, because that looked a bit touch and go. But Ziggy's now thinking the same thing. He's going to make an attempt, I would imagine, for soft tyres, like Fodder has done as well. So it looks like most drivers are heading to those soft tyres now, thinking that the rest of the race is going to stay dry.
Yeah, and then we get an intense downpour and with a lap and a half to go, and everything falls into chaos again.
Well, do you remember the sprint race at Fuji with the Blue Lobby last week? That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So don't tempt fate. Not 2 weeks in a row. They will be begging.
Let's have a look through the. You know what? This has certainly been a very chaotic race. I think our closest battle at the minute is between Koulias and Ziggy. Obviously, Ziggy carrying that 5-second penalty, as you let us know. But it seems like Koulias' tyres are already about maybe, what would you say, that 40% worn.
Yeah.
As he goes he goes about 3/10 quicker than his personal fastest lap in the first sector, so he's flying at the moment.
He is, and although Ziggy's going to have that 5-second penalty, Koulias is going to struggle to keep Ziggy behind him. Ziggy, it looks like he is the former Ziggy that we knew as our personal teammate in CRT, and it looks like he is driving well again, and he's going to struggle to keep Ziggy behind him even with that 5-second penalty. I would imagine Koulias might even consider pitting again too.
He's certainly got plenty of buffer to Iceman in P5. as it looks like Ice maybe going to a lap down on the fodder. Fodder lapping up to up to 5th place in this race seems pretty crazy to me. Wouldn't you? Don't you agree?
All I can say is he has been electric in the wet. Maybe that's not something you want, but Iceman now getting the blue flags. Yeah, Fodder has been faultless, frankly. So congratulations to Fodder so far. And I think that is Sarah Hawkey directly behind. Yeah, behind Fodder.
Yeah, it is.
So following our lead around, keeping pace. So Sarah with the pace, just an unfortunate set of circumstances earlier on, and running 9th today. But hopefully all drivers can take something good away from this race. Even Bertie, who has had an interesting strategy call. But again, you have to take something away from this race, that you've survived it. And, well, at very worst, you've got Deep Forest next, so look forward to that.
Well, actually, Bertie set his own personal best lap of the race, set a 2:03.7, so doing very well. Running about. I mean, I know he's probably not having the races, but he's running fast, setting a faster lap than the drivers in front of him. So it's certainly something. It's not all doom and gloom for him this race. I've got to say.
Quite right. And looking at the championship at the moment, we've got Ziggy on 32 points in 23rd, but he's going to be, I think, shooting up the table today with what's going to be, I think, at least 4th today. So kudos to him. And kudos himself on 71 points in 17th. And again, I think he stands a very, very good chance of perhaps even joining Red Lobby for next race at Deep Forest. So he's going to be wanting that. We know he wants to be amongst the aliens, and we've seen him pull off some shock results in the Red Lobby as well as the Blue Kudos. So, what can we say? There's lots more to come in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where is this? Round 4. So we've still got just over half a season to go. So we've got plenty of action to see. Even though this race maybe quieting down a bit, we've certainly got a lot less upcoming. Well, the rest of it all coming, Luke.
Yeah, still half a season yet to go, and we have no idea who is going to win the series. I mean, in the Red Lobby, we urge you to check out the race on the Nighthawk Racing YouTube. All we can say is the top 2 drivers in that didn't score massively well in the event, and it's definitely opened up the championship there. So keep an eye. The results in a blue do affect both altogether as part of the championship. So yeah, keep an eye on what's going on. Lots still to come, and nothing decided yet in the team, rookie, or solo championship.
Yeah, it's all. It's only round 4, so plenty of races up and coming, and plenty of time for everything to change in the standings.
Koulias just went purple in the first sector. We have had Fodder in P1 steal back the fastest lap cut, and Lee has come in for what I would imagine, it's going to be another set of soft tyres. So he's going to make his attempt at the fastest lap too.
Yeah, I think everybody's having their own. I think the gaps are so big between drivers. Everybody wants a shot at fastest lap.
Oh, Simon having a off at Degner 1. Little bit of damage, but he's only got a few laps left to go.
Running up in P8 again, very impressive drive from him today. I don't think I can big him up enough, Luke.
Exactly same. But let's turn our attention to, for the moment, our new 2 rookies in Fodder and Phil. T50 Phil and Fodder, respectively, have both driven a very, very great race. Phil, not so lucky with the tyre choice at the beginning of the race, starting on wets as it somewhat dried out and then went wet again. But he's made his way back through to P2 and what looks like seeing off the fight from Koulias and Ziggy.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 rookies showing the rest of them done.
Sorry, Ziggy is having off somewhere, and he has got big front end damage. So that is that happened, and Koulias has gotten away from him. So we might very well be seeing Koulias steal this third place if he can keep his tyres intact for another 2.5 laps.
Well, I think he's getting close towards a pit stop, possibly in front of Ziggy there. Ziggy, it looks like Ziggy about 15 seconds compared to his personal fastest lap. So obviously a major incident at some point during that lap or that previous lap. But yeah, rookies have showed everyone out pretty much. I'm certainly interested to see how they do in the red lobby. Mind you, Luke.
Yeah, it's one thing to look forward to seeing, and as I say, check out that lobby on the Nighthawk Racing YouTube. I'm not giving any spoilers away.
Yeah. So as we get towards the end of this race, Luke, who would your driver of the day be?
Oh, for a sublime drive, I would have to simply say Fodder. We don't always give it to the winner, but he has been imperious out front, in my opinion. Phil has had a great fight through the pack, and even Koulias has had a very interesting one with multiple pit stops he's made it work. But I'm personally very happy. My metaphorical driver of the day would be Ziggy. He showed himself very, very well today. And again, another big shout out to Iceman, even Super Simon. There's too many people to try and award the thing to, but for me, Fodder. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. With the pace he's shown and just how the race has gone, I think it's definitely got to be Fodder who takes my driver of the day. I know Sparky drove a very good sprint race to win that, although he did take a little bit of advantage from some issues at the start from everybody else. But yeah, I agree. I think Fodder's definitely got to be driver of the day for me.
Yeah, I think that is fair. I think I just saw him jumping across the curb. Yeah, he was. It was at 130R, but easily done. So easily done round here. But he's going to be coming across the line to start his final lap go.
Yeah. I don't quite think he'll be able to set his fastest lap of the race this lap because his soft tyres looking pretty warm. But I think he'll just bring it in, just cruise it round the final lap to the end.
Yeah, I think the only one who's got a chance, or even then, Lee, he actually went to medium tyres. So, interesting choice there. I was going to say Lee might have his shot at the fastest lap, but that's not going to happen. The only driver I'm watching now was Koulias to see if he can get those soft tyres to the end.
Yeah, if I'm Koulias, I'm definitely just I want to be crawling around now. I don't want to be pushing him at all.
Yeah, fuel mode 6 and just stroke that car around the track.
Let's have a look under through.
There's been so much great driving in these wet and dark conditions from all of the drivers today.
I just got to say, Bertie is all over the back of Lee. I don't know if Bertie's gonna try and make an overtake or just sit behind, or maybe an overtake for pride. Come on, Bertie, we want to see an overtake.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, we maybe I know it's probably been a very frustrating race for Bertie, but I'm sure if he can overtake Lee here, it'll be a bit of a moment of pride for him.
But it's one of those things. Does Lee care enough to let someone behind him just unlap himself? I mean, just go on. Doesn't matter.
There we are. It looks like here we are. We got Fodder coming through 130R. He comes into the final chicane, clips the A1 apex, clips the second apex, runs through Casio, and he's got a 1-for-1 feature race entry to feature race wins. He crosses the line. The new driver showing us how it's done.
And the fastest lap too, and pole. Oof.
You were saying, Luke?
I was just saying, and fastest lap and pole as well, Kirk. What showing?
Yeah, absolutely. Very fantastic week. Well, fantastic showing from him is we see Sarah, unfortunately, him crashing at the chicane on the final lap of the race. Probably not quite how she wanted to end this race. And was that? Did she? Oh, did she lose out to Simon on the final corner for the chicane?
Quite possibly. I think Simon was ahead, but I think Simon's tyres were going off. If I need to check. Simon had that big damage actually, and it looks like Sarah almost caught him. So it was just a close call. But
okay.
keeping an eye on Koulias, his rear tyres have gone off. He's going to be crawling around. He's only spoon ahead of Ziggy.
Oh, I can't watch, Luke. It's going to be so close between the two of them. I don't want to be biased, but come on, Ziggy. I believe, Ziggy. I believe. Get this podium.
Not that we want anything bad to happen to Koulias. I must say that now.
I had nothing against Koulias, but it'd be nice to see Ziggy getting on the podium. Is Koulias? It's almost like the scene from Cars. It's like, oh no, Koulias has blown a tyre.
It's almost like Hamilton in Silverstone a couple of years back, arriving on 3 wheels.
Well, 3 wheels. I think Koulias isn't driving on any wheels. But it looks like he's just about able to hold on from Ziggy.
Ziggy taking P4. Close
takes
between
P4.
the two, but with a
Certainly,
5-second penalty, Ziggy finishing on the road a few seconds behind.
Yeah. And our last driver on the lead lap, actually, funnily enough, for having such fantastic pace, in the end he lapped all the way up to 5th place.
Can't argue that pace, can you? Do you want to do a quick rundown, Kirk?
Yeah, absolutely, I can do for you, Luke. So, what could only be described as an absolutely dominant showing on his feature race debut. The driver who started on pole, got the fastest lap, and ended up winning by quite a comfortable margin in the end, Fodder. Followed by his rookie and fellow teammate, Phil. Although he maybe didn't have the absolute outright pace to challenge for today, he drove a very impressive race to finish in 2nd place. And Koulias, although pitting slightly early to get onto those soft tyres, manages to just hold off from Ziggy in the end to take our final podium position in the P3 with Ziggy in 4th. What can you say about Ziggy? Unfortunately, they're not quite enough in the end there to be able to catch Koulias, even when Koulias tiptoed on the end, right on the end there. But I'm sure he'll be very happy with P4 on track. I'm just going to have a look. Yes, Luke, I have got to say on the. I know it's not quite the rundown that you want me to. Sarah crashing at the final on the final chicane did in the end cost a P8 to Simon. So Simon did overtake her at the final. We did see an overtake at the final corner for P8 for Simon on Sarah. But I'll go back to it. We have Iceman in P5. Obviously, we saw. Maybe not the cleanest of races from him, but he's done very well. Well, early on he didn't have a clean race, and obviously we saw him languishing down towards the back of the field. But P5 for Iceman, and then P6 for Lee, with Hassler in 7th, and then Simon obviously taking full advantage of Sarah's mistake at the end there to just sneak past her and finish in P8. Sarah in 9th. Obviously, yeah, I'm sure she'll bounce back stronger at Deep Forest. And Bertie, obviously, a very unfortunate race for Bertie. Obviously, it's just one of those race days where it just didn't seem to fall quite right for him. And he'll finish last of our runners in P10, Luke.
Yeah, and then we had Coach with a DNF and Tygo as well, who unfortunately, when the rain came, called it a day. A little bit early, but sometimes you just don't have it in you to go all the way to the end with such conditions, and the night falling as well. But Kirk, I think that was a hell of a race, particularly in the opening stages. There was so much action, and I cannot believe how clean all of these drivers were in such treacherous conditions. They all earned their place on the grid today, and I think a round of applause to each and every driver out there just for getting to the end. But what can we say? fodder he showed everyone how to do. I don't think he even touched the full wet tyres in the end, so sticking with I think the intermediates all around, unless there's a middle stint in there that I've forgotten. But hell of a drive from him and from Phil to come from the back, and Koulias and Kirk. Sorry, Koulias and Kirk. We had Ziggy in P4 as well. So, well, what do you think, Kirk? I think we need to name a driver of the day.
I know I've said it a lot, but I say Simon drove a very fantastic race. It can't be understated how well he's done today. Obviously running up in P6 and P5 at some points of the race. Very impressive show for him, but I can't really take anything away from Fodder. I think Fodder is pretty much drove faultlessly and definitely deserves it Midnight.
I would agree. So, well, I think we'll name Fodder as the driver of the day, with Simon as a very close honorary mention, completely right there. So, Kirk, that is definitely going to open up the championship. It's going to put Ziggy and Koulias higher up the championship. They're going to be happy with that. And it's going to put, I can tell you now, Fodder and Phil are going to be into red lobby for next week. So they're going to be in deep forest. Hopefully not in any deep trouble, but they're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to have a lot of fun racing alongside them as well. But what can I say? Deep Forest coming up next. The new TWR boys are going to be something to be watched out for. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think they'll certainly be giving possibly you and Pedro a run for their money if they continue to show the pace they've shown here Midnight.
Well, I've already seen the pace that Fodder has done in testing, and I'm already worried. So it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I say thank you for listening to me and Luke rattle on for this race. I'm say bring on, see what the drivers have to say about their performance in the and what our podium finishes. So after we've finished, and I say bring on Deep Forest next week. Well, next 2 weeks, shall I say?
Yeah, it's going to be back to back there. Please feel free to check out our YouTube with all of our past seasons racing, our Instagram and TikTok for some more in-depth of the pole laps and even training videos and all those kind of things. Please feel free to check back with us, and then there's still a lot of distance left in this championship and a lot more fun to be had. With that in mind, Kirk, shall we go and check out the podium room, see what the drivers have to say for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much all, and see you in Deep Forest for rounds 5 and 6.
What can I say? Really enjoyable race. Really tricky conditions as well. It's the first time for me racing in the rain. I think keeping an eye on that weather radar was the main factor to this race, and making sure you're getting on the right strategy at the right time. But yeah, overall really enjoyable, and super happy with that result.
Round 4 is one of my faves even in the wet. It was a tough grid seeing a few red lobby drivers in the mix, but we held it together for a podium in the sprint, gaining a 1-up place finish in the feature event, which given the weather conditions is a massive win.
I just wanted to say I have been impressed by the quality of how things have been run in NHR. Real attention to detail. Well, to you all, as I know it takes a lot of time and hard work in the background. As for the races, sprint was a good result from 11th, but the track was so tight it was difficult to gain places later on without causing a collision. This allowed a few drivers to catch back up, but being a first race, I wanted to stay as clean as possible. Still a good challenge though, going up 6 places on the grid. The feature race went wrong from the start. I noticed other drivers seemed to be going at a slightly better pace as I chose the inters. Thinking everyone else was on wets, I decided to change tires straight away, only to find the track drying out. Should have checked the weather radar. I might have had a better fight for the front if I had just stuck to plan A. Some more great battles, but I still tried to remain as clean a driver as possible and managed to pull it back to 2nd place. Thank you for the kind comment, and definitely see you at the next one. Looking forward to some daylight and sunshine at the other races.
I'm happy with the win, but I got really lucky with the race start. As I was struggling a lot of the race, I was really tired going into the race, so I was making a lot of mistakes and was off the pace, but I hung in there and won the race, so I'm happy with that, but I'm disappointed I couldn't make it to the feature race.